All right, everyone. This is Conversations with Dom. I'm your host, Dom Gomes. This is brought to you by I'm Breaking Into Tech, and we dive into all things mentoring. And today I have the pleasure of bringing on one of my longest mentees, essentially, from the past 2 years. Munzer was
Yeah.
one of the first people that I ever mentored formally in a formal capacity, a formal capacity when he was an intern at DocuSign. And over the past 2 years, I've seen him grow as both a professional and just as a close friend. So, Munzer, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about your background, where you're from, and what you currently do.
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Dom. I gotta say, man, that intro video or intro music was really good. So shout out to whoever made it. But as Dom
For
mentioned,
you, Aaliyah. That's for you, Aaliyah.
oh, shout out to Aaliyah, man. That was well done. Spot on. Spot on. Yeah, my name is Munzer Elser. As Dom mentioned, I've honestly, it's been 2 years, 2.5, maybe a little more, since me and him started working together. And he kind of took me under his wings and helped elevate me. A little bit about my background: I come from engineering and supply chain background from Michigan State University. So go green to any Spartans listening in. And currently, I am a product sales specialist at Blackhawk Network, specifically with our product line, BHN Rewards.
Nice. And I know you recently started there. You want to tell us more about what you are doing in the role? I mean, from what you were telling me beforehand, it's super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting time at BHN Rewards, Blackhawk Network as a whole. My role is a product sales specialist. So, at a high level, I am the subject matter expert as it pertains to our product line. I also do a lot of work with different teams within the organization, like marketing, product, sales, and it's been an absolutely amazing ride so far, and I'm excited for what the future holds for myself and the organization at large.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear. Like I said, super exciting role. One of the things we really wanted to talk about, and we were mentioning this beforehand when we were chatting, is that we talked to a lot of people that have made career transitions later on. Like, say they were working, like Tamara was an opera singer and she moved into becoming a solutions engineer. You have the experience though of actually doing it through after college, mostly through an internship. So I wanted to talk about that internship that we did together at DocuSign when I was your mentor. So you mentioned you were at Michigan State. You were studying engineering, correct?
Yeah.
And what specific type of engineering? It's industrial, right? If I remember correctly, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what would you say, like, just kind of going from that type of having that type of background, studying that, how do you feel like it's helped you right now in your role nowadays when you're in tech?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Dom. I honestly think as engineers, we have problem solving mindset. So that's something that is kind of ingrained in us through our collegiate years and through the courseworks we take on, through the projects we're a part of. And so that type of problem solving mentality, I would say, helped me tremendously as I entered this world of sales engineering, solution engineering, tech in general. And I'm thankful for the experience that I've had in engineering that I think has played a huge role in helping my development and also helping me uh, as someone who wants, someone who's curious, someone who is willing to ask meaningful questions. And like I said, just that problem solving mentality, looking at something from outside of a box kind of point of view.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all trying to solve some problem.
Yeah.
And I do feel like engineers, like, that is the focus. It's not necessarily, you have to know the science behind it, but it's also saying, like, all right, from a science perspective, how do I actually apply that math and science to actually solve a problem. So I think that makes sense, and that's a great mentality to think about in whatever we're doing in tech. Uh, so you were studying that. What kind of internships did you do before you came across the DocuSign internship?
Yeah, I did a couple of internships, but right before DocuSign, I did an internship at Train Technologies where I was a procurement intern. So that was more around the supply chain space. It was a phenomenal internship that exposed me to, I would say, the supply chain world, exposed me to procurement, and it kind of started, I would say, the journey of me becoming a solution engineer.
That's fascinating to hear that. So you were doing that procurement specialist job. Then how did you find out about the internship at DocuSign? Like let's talk about how that all came into
Yeah,
place.
yeah, definitely. During my time at Trains Technology as a procurement intern, every uh, few weeks, I would say, we would have uh, a presentation, a guest presentation from someone within the organization from different fields to kind of expose us to different career paths. And one time we had a gentleman who was a sales engineer within the organization. And right off the bat, I was taken back because, I'm familiar with engineering, I'm familiar with sales, but I've never heard the two together. So just listening to him speak, listening to his day to day, I was very intrigued. And right after that call, I reached out. I did some research on the side, and at the conclusion of my internship, I went to a conference, and there I found Chris Kraft, who's also a buddy of ours and a mentor of mine as well. And he kind of had told me about this position at DocuSign, first time cohort solution engineering internship, and encouraged me to apply. And I did. And I'm so happy to have the chance to meet him, and also happy for the opportunity to get to be a part of that internship.
Yeah, it was a special little cohort, that first one. I was had a lot of fun. Yeah,
Oh man,
shout
it
out
was a
to
great
Kristen
time.
Jackson, Stephanie Daniel, everyone who was involved,
Yes,
Shara.
yeah,
Yeah,
nah, the best. It was so much fun, and uh, it was I would say you really a great opportunity.
hmm
And DocuSign as a whole, and the team that set everything up, can't thank them enough.
yeah. I remember when KJax asked me to be a part of it too, and then I was talking with Chris because I know he was helping out with it too, and I was like, yeah, this would be great. I can't, I think that'd be a lot of fun. And when we got introduced, I was like, man, we're gonna get along well. I,
Oh
I,
yeah.
I knew off the bat. Yeah, I was like, we were already just like chatting, but but even getting further back. So you met Chris and you interviewed. Can you tell me what the interview process was like?
Yeah, the interview process was I had a conversation with the hiring manager, and then following that conversation, I had a demonstration in front of a panel, uh, and after successfully completing that presentation, I was given an offer to come in as an intern. So it was a very smooth process, I would say. And it was a very fun process. And setting up a demonstration, that was my first time ever demoing anything. So, I practiced a lot, and I'm happy I did because it paid off.
What do you think made you stand out in sort of your demo or even just the interview process?
I would say two things. So, from a personality standpoint, I think my energy was spot on. That kind of came through. At that time, we were still virtual. So, for someone's energy to come through a virtual setting, I think is important. And I think at that time, I was able to capture that. From a demoing standpoint, I would say my pace, even though it was my first time, the comments that I received afterwards is my pace was easy to follow. I didn't feel rushed. I wasn't rushed. I wasn't talking fast. So it was a very nice pace overall, and I think those two things together really helped.
Did you have like insane slides? Because everyone always knew you as the person is like, wow, Munzer's got some really creative slides.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You always had like, I remember Shar saying, like, I like Munzer's slides. They're always different, you know. And I was always curious. I'm like, I think were you using Canva or something like that?
I can't recall
you used something, but they always looked good. They always looked good.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, the slides probably played a huge factor just from a visual standpoint. They were very appeasing to the eyes. So absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess even going through the process of when you're interviewing, like, because we always hear this a lot too, and I always recommend it. If you find someone, were you trying to get advice from Chris Kraft and stuff like that too as well?
Oh, definitely. You have to learn from others. You have to learn from those who have kind of walked that path before. And Chris was tremendous in giving me guidelines, giving me wisdom, words of encouragement, and allowing me to soak up as much knowledge from him as possible. I would definitely say it wouldn't have been as easy without Chris if he wasn't in the picture.
Because you built a relationship with him beforehand, and that sort of enabled you to feel like, I mean, which again, that's how it works a lot in tech, internships, everything is you try to get to know someone who works there, or even when you're reaching out, trying to build or establish some sort of a connection, because that's going to help you out. Yeah. Even when you're looking for jobs, you know?
No, spot on. Something Chris told me early on, one of the first few conversations we had, was your network is your net worth. And so make sure, Munzer, that your network is pretty strong. And so I took that to heart, and ever since then I've been trying to grow my network. But I made sure with him that we established a good relationship, and that relationship has come, I would say, with a lot of benefits, just from the standpoint of even getting help in my presentation, but also off of it, we've become friends. He's now like a big brother to me, similar to you. So it's been very rewarding to see what LinkedIn can do, going from a professional space to now this person is, a personal friend.
Yeah, Chris Kraft, if you're listening to this, man, we love you. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely.
I think I need to get him on here soon, since I've always been talking with people that I mentored, and I view him as a mentor to me too. So it's kind of, yeah. So it's always one of those things where I feel like I can ask him for advice. But no, that's great. So you came in, and then I remember we got connected, and how we hit it off super well, and but in general, right? Like, what do you think? Like, what would you tell our audience about what was your focus? What was your day to day, especially for people looking for internships, maybe in sales engineering? Like, what did you focus on?
What did I focus on in terms of the content?
Like being an intern at the Intern, yeah. When you in the Intern, what was sort of your day to day job, and what you were doing, and what projects did you work on? Just to get people a sense of, like, hey, when you go into these internships, like, sometimes it's not always super defined, or sometimes it is. And like, I know you were the first cohort, so in a lot of ways you were kind of the experiment at first,
Yeah, no, exactly. We were the first, as Dom mentioned. So we were learning as we went. But a couple of things that we did were some of the projects we worked on. For example, objection handling, where we gathered hundreds of objections that our solutions engineer faced, and then we equipped them with, I would say, the best responses to those objections. Another project that we were a part of was, I would say, not so much of a project, but kind of our day-to-day, was going through mock demos and mock discovery calls, and really making sure that we're building that foundation in how to give effective presentations, and how to give effective or lead effective discovery calls. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of great learning opportunities, and Dom was a tremendous help Dom was phenomenal in kind of helping me through the journey and sharing his wisdom and giving me positive, constructive feedback. So huge shout out to you as well, man.
Hey man, it went both ways. Like I learned a lot from you too. There's something to say about your man. It's just you have this like contagious like optimism. You know what I mean? Like whenever you talk to people, and this is a thing that you're gonna find sometimes in any type of job. But if you've been in a job for a long time, like you sometimes it's easy sometimes to get a little like I don't want to say jaded, but like you get a little, you'll start looking at things different. But you really brought in sort of a fresh perspective coming in there, and I would say looking back, that summer, you and all those interns really injected just like life into the sales organ or to the SE, the solution engineering organization. Everyone was just always like, man, like I love what you guys are doing. You know, all of you were just did a tremendous job of not just building rapport and the projects that you made, impacts on, but just showing us how to think a little bit differently, which I always think is an important part of, internships, because like a lot of us, you find this a lot in the tech industry. There's a lot of people that have been doing things very similarly. And it's always interesting to hear the perspective of, different generations, right?
Yeah.
Randomly, I'll never forget. This is a funny story that I think is funny. I remember once we had a conversation, and I told you about like work-life balance, and I think it was the first time I ever had someone refer to me by like my generation. You were like, "Yeah, you millennials were really big on like mental health and stuff," and then I sat there and I was like, "Wow, this is wow, I'm getting older, am I?" But it was one of those situations where I laughed so hard, and I remember I called up Chris and I'm like, "Dude, wow, like we're getting old, aren't we?"
Oh man, that's hilarious, Dom. The cycle of life, man. It's a remarkable thing.
That's how it is, man. But I mean, like I said, I look back at that summer as from your experience and what you learned, and then what you brought to us, like it was, you would have talked to anyone in the SE team, everyone would have been like, yeah, Munzer, you guys are the best, and so just want to say like that was definitely a highlight of my time at DocuSign, like that program.
That,
Oh yeah, dude, getting to know you was the best. But I mean, you went through the whole internship, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk what I think a lot of people, so you get into this internship, you work hard, you build a brand. Talk about how you transitioned to being, a full-time employee, getting that offer.
Yeah, absolutely. It was different to go from a full-time student, because you got to remember when you're going through your internship, it's your summer. It's kind of the summertime, so you don't have any other courses. You might, but in my scenario, I didn't have any classes. And so after my internship, I kind of went to school and finished up my last semester. And so coming back in the new year and going from once a college student to now a full-time professional, there's an adjustment period, I would say. It's very different, as you can imagine, but it was something I was looking forward to. It was something that I was seeking to achieve. It was one of my goals to go to college, to graduate, to find a job with a good organization in tech. And so it was a very proud moment, I would say, for me and my circle, my family and friends.
Perfect. I mean, even if we get more deep into it, what steps did you take to start getting the idea of like, hey, look, I'm doing great here. I want to make this a full-time thing.
Yeah. I think if you're going through any internship in any field, you have to ask yourself if what you're doing is something that brings you enjoyment. If it's something that you might not have to be fully passionate about, but there has to be a level of excitement to hop on each and every morning. And so for me, I looked at that. I looked at the people that I was working with. They were phenomenal. They were very genuine. And so taking all of those factors into consideration, it was a easy call to want to come back full time. And I was able to achieve that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's the goal, right? Is if you find an organization, like you should be asking those questions. Like, hey,
Yeah.
if you know quickly that you're enjoying it, you should be talking to management of like, hey, look, if I'm interested in becoming a full-time employee here, like what do I need to do?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something that you uh, told me about very early on, that you should make your intentions known, that no one can know your
Read your mind.
intentions or read your mind exactly. So that's something I I quickly made known after I knew this is where I wanted to be post graduation. And so that's another great advice by you, Dom. 100%.
Yeah, yeah, because the truth is the longer that you've been doing, it's not even just tech, it's any job. Everyone, people aren't mind readers. You know, as much as we try to practice, like people want to be empathetic, it's easy to get bogged down in, the day to day life and not know what's going on.
Yeah,
So whether it's
100%.
writing it, putting it on paper, having a list of like with your manager, like this is pretty common in the industry, where if you're having a one-on-one, create a doc, and in that document, make it like a living document and explain what your short, mid, and long-term goals are. And that's for people out there that are gonna get into tech, like that is how it goes. Is you have to have your eyes on what is the prize or what is the next level that you want to get to.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. That's a great advice. And to add to that, into my point earlier, uh, I would say make sure you're networking, make sure you're reaching out to people, and they don't have to be in the same org or in the same team, but anyone that might interest you in terms of their occupation, or in terms of their background. Make sure to reach out to them and establish that relationship, that positive relationship.
Yeah, it's true. I think you'll always hear the term, you hear it in sales a lot, like being multi-threaded. Multi-threaded meaning that you're connecting with a bunch of different groups of people, and it's not just like, it's either one group or one stakeholder. You always hear the
I
term
like that
stakeholder
multi.
too.
Yeah, that's a good term.
Multi-threading. So
Yeah.
for people that are, looking to get into tech sales, you're going to hear this term often, right? So say you're trying to sell to a customer, right? And maybe it's a big customer, maybe it's a small customer, and you're only talking to one person. What are the chances of a deal closing if you only have one person? Because is one person really always the decision maker? Not necessarily. There's influencers and there's different stakeholders. So you have to build relationships with a good cross section of people, whether it's
Mm,
procurement, whether it's the IT, the security team. By building all these relationships and bringing multiple groups to the table, you're able to effectively move the ball forward on whether it's closing a deal, establishing a relationship, or even getting a job. So people who are
yeah.
talking about maybe getting a job in the tech industry, like don't just reach out to one person at a company, reach out to multiple people, try to establish an idea of like, what do you like about it potentially?
Yeah. No, 100%. Well said, Dom. I agree.
Yeah. No, it's I think it kind of comes down, to it really comes down to, I guess, relationships, right? And it kind of starts back to, like we were saying, I don't want to say, it seems like a lot of paths start with Chris Kraft between us, but it's true. Like Chris Kraft was a very monumental like person, I feel like, in general, just in terms of giving a lot of advice for folks. Same thing with Kristen too. K
Yeah,
Jax, I love you too. You're great. Shara. I mean, there was just so many good people.
absolutely.
So I guess now with sort of where you're at, what do you envision sort of the future? I know your role right now has a lot of different pieces to it, like you were mentioning, but like what do you see yourself doing in maybe like 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you want to do? I mean, I know I'm putting you on the spot there, man. I know that wasn't in
It's
the
a good
list, but
question.
like, I know I'm putting you on the spot, man. But I mean, that's just how we fly sometimes.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a great question. I definitely want to get into a managerial role. I want
Mhm.
to progress into leadership. And the reason is because I feel like at that level, I could make the biggest impact, whether it's with an organization, but for me personally, kind of paving the way for those that are going to come after me. I'm huge on giving back. There are so many people that played an important role in my life for me to be in the position I am today. So for me, it's important to do that for the next generation. And I think being in a leadership uh, role, uh, you have a lot of resources at your hand and you're able to do more. And so, that's where I see myself.
Yeah, man. Maybe you'll start an internship program where you're at.
Yeah, no, why not?
Why
Why
not,
not?
man? Exactly. Like I want to do this. I've been mentioning a similar thing, right? Like I would love to do the same thing. I'd love to recreate that spark that was there. I
Oh
felt like
yeah.
it was special. I felt it was special. But no, I mean, like, so with that, I guess to even put it back into that question about paying it forward. I know I've thrown people your way to talk like, hey, can
Mhm.
Munzer's been in the industry a bit. How's that sort of been? Are you finding people reaching out? Have you had a lot of conversations with folks? And what advice are you typically giving them?
Yeah, no, 100%. Uh, like you said, Dom has told some individuals to reach out to myself. Some do just by luck, and those that I'm able to have a conversation with, uh, it's really remarkable to see the energy, to see the hunger that they have. And for me, I want to be as much of a resource as I can, and really try to guide them to my best ability in terms of what worked for me, what didn't, and try to be as honest as possible, and just try to be genuine, and give as many good advice as I can in terms of networking, in terms of building your brand, uh, also building your skill set. What can you do to set yourself apart? So it's been awesome being in that position, and I look forward to continuing that. Absolutely.
No, that's great, man. I mean, I think you hit on something too that it just kind of like we always tell people what we would have done, but to where you're at now, like, would you change anything, or what would you have done slightly differently?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if I would change anything, but I would say I would probably uh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can't think of anything that I would change. I honestly have enjoyed the journey so far, and I'm excited for the journey to come. Uh, and uh, no, I mean the only thing I could think of is maybe talk to even more people. Put yourself even more out there,
Exactly.
have more conversations. Open yourself up to new uh, situations. That's probably all I can think of. So that's probably about it.
I think it makes sense. Like sometimes I think a lot of people, and I've had that before, is like, did I do enough, right? Or could
Yeah.
I have done more back then? But then you always have to put it in context of, where was I at? What was I doing at that point in
Oh
my
yeah.
life too? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, man,
Exactly.
it's man, I'm proud of what you become, just in general. Like I said,
Appreciate it,
I know
man.
this is
Thank
a
you.
podcast, and I'm getting all kind of like emotional here, but it's just like, dude, like I mean, from 2 years ago to now, it's like
No,
it's
appreciate it, man.
it feels like it's been a journey, man. You know what I mean? Just in general, for just to see, and like I said, I'm always going to look fondly of being your mentor at
Likewise.
DocuSign. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Dom. And like I said, and like I tell you privately, like you've been so tremendous in my growth, in my development. Uh, I can't thank you enough. It's just been an incredible journey, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited for what's to come your way. I'm excited for what's to come my way, and I'm excited for the evolution and the continued development of this relationship that we have here.
That's what it is. So for people out there, right, who are like, if you want to, like, again, I know this is going to sound cheesy, but if you want sort of like a great example of just like mentorship or I don't even call it mentorship. It's friendship, right? Like it's friendship too. Like we reach out to each other. It's, I feel like we have support, but there's also there's a professional and a personal aspect where, you know, we're just checking in with each other, right? I mean, that's a key thing that we always have to tell people is that, you know, even if you're trying to get mentored professionally, like they have lives too, you know, outside of just work. And it's easy to just think about someone in a certain way, but then but if you really put on the empathy hat of being like, hey, what's going on with them? You know, like even the simple stuff of like, how's your day going? Like
100%.
that matters in anything you do. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. You hit on it. Empathy, making sure that you really hone in on that human element of compassion as well, and you know, try to be as genuine as possible. Like you said, you know, we're humans first before we are professionals, so definitely play into that.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think we get wrapped up pretty soon, right? Well, I guess lastly, right, you know, you've been in the tech industry now for what, two plus years? Like what would you know, if you were talking to someone in college right now and they wanted to get where you're at, like what would be the best advice right now that you would tell them to do if they were going to do something like, you know, this week or today?
Yeah, 100%. I would say start building your network. Start reaching out to those who are in positions that you want to begin one day. Start reaching out to those who are in industries that interest you, and have conversations with them. Try to learn from their perspective, from their experience, because that's the best thing you can do. And once you have that, that opens up so many doors for you, because now someone can put a face to their resume, so to speak. And so it's really important to network. It's really important to network in a positive way, and to make your reach out kind of invite very personal to that person, and take it from there.
Beautiful. Yeah. As Chris Kraft said, your network is your net worth.
Yeah, that's a big one. Big one, man. Absolutely.
I think you've sold me on this. I need to get Chris on here next. You know, I really do.
100%, 100%. I think you would have a phenomenal conversations, and I think your listeners will find a lot of insight and wisdom from someone that has over 25 years of experience. So definitely.
I think I know who I'm texting after this. So
awesome.
All right. Well, thanks again, Munzer. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely.
And
thank you.
And we will do this again soon. All the audience, thank you so much for listening, and appreciate it.